and everything. So those things we'll discuss now. Okay. Yep. So let me open my database management system.
Good morning, Anjan.
Yep.
It
Morning.
was delayed due to network.
Yeah, no issue. Let me open your SQL server or SQL Server Management Studio. So like we can open W3 schools as well. So if you want to practice SQL, with your own, then W3 schools is a good practice. There we have a SQL concept is there. And so far, we understood these things like constraints and this SQL databases, creating, dropping, and creating the table, dropping the table, and altering the table, and various constraints. So this is the part we seen in our previous session. Okay. Now let's try to go for understanding that syntax of the SQL and the select statement, and then we can try to go for inserting the records and let's see these all things like select where and or operators, various operators, order by, insert into, and update and delete, and various functions and various wild calls also, joinings, left join, inner join, full join, self join, and union, group by, having, exist, and any, all, and this kind of things we'll see actually. Okay, before we understood like select command, let's go for understanding the insert. Okay, first try to go for inserting the data into the table. Okay, your specific table actually. Okay, let me open my SQL server. This is my SQL. I'm just connecting my SQL server from my SQL server management, Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Once connection has been established successfully, then you will be getting this kind of things at the left side. And here we have various databases are there. And so far we have airline DB and you know and see, just see airline DB. Let's go for see that what are the tables we have it in airline DB, and airline price we have it, right? Let me go for select, write a query, use the airline DB, or else we can see other databases also, employee table, or else tech skill DB and student management DB. We have various DBs are there. Okay. Okay, let me, okay, use, I want to use a specific database, then you can just use the where command, use command. Then this way you can select the database. And now we selected the database. After that one, I want to check that what is the data is there inside of airline price. Then we can have select command, select star from, okay, and airline price, airline price. Okay, so right up. And if I use this select, then it will returning that in everything. So, this is the one database actually. So I just looked at what type of data and what the data we have it here. Okay. Mm, okay, fine. And for example, I want to go with creating the, or I want to go with the tech skill DB, and then, and inside of tech skill DB, what kind of what are the tables we have it, and let's see. Okay, this is my tech skill DB. Here we have various tables are there, and from that one, students is my table. So I just want to go ahead use my tech skill, use tech skill DB, and then I just want to select what are the data we have it inside of the student table. So select star from, okay, and the table name is students. Then With help of these two statements, I'm just selected the text DB and I'm returning that there could be only two records are there, right? Let me go for inserting that. I would like to go for inserting some new data into some new records into my student table. Then how should I insert? Can anyone tell me that command? So what is the
Insert it
syntax?
to table name.
Okay. So first, let me check that, the syntax. This is the inserting into the data. Okay, you're going to be inserting the data into the table. So I just want to insert some new record. For that one, I can use the insert into the syntax. And this is the syntax for inserting the data into the table. So there are two syntaxes are there. Okay, one is for specifying the columns. For example, first you can mention the column two and you can mention the column one. So which data we want to store in a specific column, then we can use this type of syntax. Okay, like I just want to directly store default data. For example, if I'm not giving this kind of syntax, then volume one, the value one will be holding into the column one, value two will be holding into the column two, and value three will be holding into the column three. Okay, when you are specifying this one, so for example, here I mentioned the column two, here I mentioned the column two, here I mentioned the column one. By the time this volume one will be holding into the column two, this value two will be holding into the column one. That way you can specify these specific columns. And if you're not specifying the columns, make sure that the entire record we have to provide you. Okay. For better understanding, we can read these two things. And let's we have inserting into the new data. Okay, so insert into and table name and followed by the column names and closed parenthesis and open parenthesis and then values and followed by the data and inside of the open parenthesis and closing parenthesis, and we have to provide you. This is the syntax we should follow when you are inserting the data into the table. Okay, let's try this one. So here I have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are six columns are there. Okay, so insert into, okay, insert into and followed by the table name, right? What is the table name here? Students. And here we can mention that values. So, or else we can go ahead like something like this. And values, okay, open parenthesis and closed parenthesis and semicolon. Okay. Yep. So here you can mention that what is the first one? So column names, right? std underscore dd id1. Give me that, tell me that column names, guys.
First name,
First name, last name.
So ID1,
comma, last name, comma, fee.
next name. Next one is what? First name.
First name, first name.
So
Yeah,
we'll
then
get that
last name.
name here. Yes. Next one is last name, right? So the order is up to
Yeah.
you. So first you can give it like, fees also. Okay. So for
Okay.
example, instead of giving the fees, the difference I want to tell you actually. So course name. So here I mentioned the course name. Here I mentioned the fees. But as for order, after fee, we have a course name, right? But when you're inserting the data, I mentioned the course name is the first, and then I mentioned that fees. Okay. Then date of joining.
Mm.
Okay. Yes, fine. Okay. So this way I have data something like this. And so this is column names. Okay. And values. What are the values we have it? For example, student ID is 3 and the student name is Amir. So it could be the string, right? So that I can mention that, in a string. And for example, last name is SK. Okay. And so first name, he is interested for machine learning. Okay. And then fees, I mentioned 15,000. And for example, date of joining, it could be anything. You're not mentioning anything. Okay. Like if I'm not giving the date of joining, then what happens? If you are mentioning any default value, then it can take the default value. Okay. If you're not mentioning anything, then it will take the some default value is the null. Okay. Let's see whether what thing it could be stored in a date of joining. Actually, you mentioned the date of joining, right? Make sure that if you mention the column name and you should provide the data. If you're not mentioning the column name, and you don't need to providing the data. Okay. So I removed the column name here so that you don't need to, I just, I'm not mentioning the column name. So here I mention only 5 records. Okay. Sorry, 5 columns information only I mentioned, so that 5 elements only, 5 data elements only I should mention over here. Okay. So this way you can inserting the data. This way you can able to go for inserting the data. And I'm just inserting only 5 columns information. So is the row is affected or not? That's right. So let me go for executing that, select star from students. Then here, have you mentioned any date of joining here? No, right?
No.
By the time of inserting the data, I couldn't mention anywhere date of joining. Okay. So that the default value, it could be the null, so that it is taking the null data. Okay. And moreover, as for the column table order is student ID, first name and last name, and fees. But whenever I'm inserting the data, and so course name is the first one and the fees, it could be the second one, so that the fee, it could be affecting or it can be holding into the directly into the column fee column only. Okay. This thing, it will be holding into corresponding column name. Clear? Okay. Let me take
Yeah.
it same example. I'm just taking the same example, but this time I mentioned the column name. Here I mentioned the column name. If I mention the column name, if I'm not giving, then what happened, we'll see. So this time the student ID is, for example, 4, and it's for Chiru. And for example, your last name is Chiru.
Mupraj.
Sorry.
Mupraj.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for
MUPPA
example,
RHI.
yeah, just on any one of it, right? Okay. Like or else I'm just giving that R. Okay. Random. Okay.
Okay.
And here, for example, a course name is just like
Yeah.
data analytics. Okay.
Okay.
And for example, your fees is 20,000. Okay. But here I mentioned that the date of joining, but I couldn't mention anywhere the date of joining data. Okay. By the time what happened, we'll see. Here actually I mentioned the 6 columns. Okay. But here the data
Mhm.
elements are only 5. Okay. This time what happened, we'll see. Okay. You will be getting that, there could be some kind of value not matching. There are more columns in the insert. See, here I mentioned the columns, right? Here I mentioned the columns, right? Okay. So here I mentioned the 6 columns, but here I am writing only 5 information, 5 column information only I'm inserting. Because of that one, we are unable to inserting the data. There could be an error. Okay. Clear.
Okay.
So what is
Yeah.
happening
Number of
when this?
values, at least you should match with the number of columns.
Yes. If you mention that, the column names, so make sure how many number of columns you mention, and make sure that it should have the that many data elements. Okay. So number of columns and number of values count should be same. Okay. Need to match. Okay. Right. For example, I can go through the second type of second type of thing. That means I'm not mentioning the column names. By default, I mention the values only. When I mention the values, okay, so the fourth record, it could be the 4, and student ID is 4, and name is Chiru, and last name, and this is the course. But as for the column structure, what is the column structure? What is the column structure? What is the column structure?
First name, last name.
Student ID,
Yeah.
first name, last name, fees, course name. But here the student ID is there, and this is first name, and this is last name, and see, it could be something like integer number, but here I mentioned the string data. Okay, and course name, it's a string, but I mentioned some integer data. Okay, so when we are giving this kind of thing, and moreover, you mentioned like date of joining also, some data you're giving. Okay, like 20 and 12 and 2023. Okay, so you mentioned that this data also. Okay, let me execute this one. What happened? We'll see. So conversion failed when converting the varchar. That means, see, actually the student fee, it's a fourth column, but the fourth column data is here. It's a data analytics. DA is there. It could be the string. Okay, right. So it's a conversion is not happened, right? This is string, right? You can't converting into the integer, right? So that is the error we are getting here. Okay, let me try. So that's the reason actually. So when you're not mentioning the data, when you're not mentioning the column name, by default it is taking the order of the column names. Okay. So for example, it's like 20,000. So 20,000 integer, right? Here the fee is data type is integer, right? See, here the fee is integer type, and fourth column is integer type, so that you won't get any kind of error. Next one is course name is data analytics. Okay. Now we can try to inserting the data. Okay, so we are not get the conversion where data type. So data type is wrong. Data type is wrong. Okay, so first it could be something like
Year,
20
month, and date.
07 month and a date, right? Okay, let me try this one.
Yeah. Yeah, but you have to pass in between quotations.
Yeah, even you're not mentioning the quotation, that's not an issue. Okay, you see
Okay.
here. Actually, there could be some issues there by the time of date. Okay, so it was taking some data, okay, some data actually. So why it is taking this one? Might it was date time, right? It's not a date. So let me try to modify the column name. Modify the column name instead of the date time. You can mention the only date. Alter alter
Table
alter
modify.
table. Table name
Table
is
name.
students.
Students modify.
Modify or alter.
Also, not should modify is oracle, I think. Alter.
Modify column.
Mhm.
What is the column name?
D, column we
DOG.
should mention, I think DOG. Yeah.
DOG, and the date type is
Space.
it's a date.
Date.
Hmm, it's like alter.
Alter, I think.
Okay, so then you can try to run it. See, now it was changed or not? It is not taking the
Yeah, they change.
hours, minutes, and so right. Let me
Yeah,
try.
let's insert on buttons.
Let me try insert. Let me try to insert some new record. Now it's the fifth record. Okay, and Srija is done, and Amir and Arvind, Madhu.
Madhu.
Okay, so Madhu and Madhu A,
Yes.
for example, 25,000 or else 10,000. Okay, and he's also interested for data science. Okay, and the date of joining into this organization is something like 6th of 19th. Okay, so let me insert the record. If you're inserting the record operand type, it is incompatible.
I think we after we made the alteration, we do you require to refresh in the left side that object explorer, because I'm seeing the DOs is still date and time.
Incompatibility. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now it's successfully
Correct.
updated.
Yeah,
Okay.
successfully.
So the data you have to provide in a string, within a strings, so that it was taking, date up like. But when you're giving the date time, you don't need to mention it. I hope the difference you understood, right? So when you are mentioning the date time, you're not giving the data in a string format. But when you're modify the data is column is like date, then you have to provide the data single quotes or double quotes. Okay. Yeah, fine. So this way you can insert the data. Nothing for understanding inserting. Nothing. There is no any new. There is no any new thing. Just you have to providing that insert into followed by the table name and followed by the values. And when you're giving that, for example, I'm not giving this one. Okay, I'm not giving. Okay, I'm inserting some new record. I'm inserting some new record, but it is not having the 6 columns. It's just having only 5 columns. Okay. For example, Ruby. Okay. And okay, it's a 10,000. It's like he's also joined for A, and it's a date of joining, for example, 5th. Okay. So okay, I'm not giving the date. If you're not giving the date, and if you there are the column structure is the table schema is there are 6 columns are there. But here, while I'm inserting the data, I have only 5 records or 5 columns information only. I do have it. By the time that happens, it won't, the column name and the number of supply value does not match table definition. Clear or not? Hmm?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So here there are 6 columns are there. So but here you're giving only 5 records, so that we are getting some kind of issue. So then if you add that default value, then what happens? Alter table name, table name. Okay. Modify column.
No, alter only. Alter table.
Alter column. Alter dog. Alter thing. Let me check default value. Let's see default. Okay. So for example, when your default, you have already table and I want to add the constraint. Okay, alter city. Yes, this one. SQL. Alter table, table name, alter column, city, column, alter table, and okay, it's for dropping. For adding, right? Add constraint. Now alter table and persons. It's not person, it's a students. Okay. Add constraint, and it's for date, right? The constraint name is student joining date. So default df means default constraint. Default constraint for dog. Dog means date of joining, and default value is, for example, 23. Okay, and it could be like 7. If you're not providing that, date, then it will take the default value is today date only. Okay, and for so what is the column name? Dog, right? Okay, if you run this one, then now you change it that the default value. Okay, let me check table. Previously it's a null, But so you are mentioning that, default value constraint. Okay. So databases and SQL and tables and the students and the column names. Mhm. Let me try. If I run this one, the number of open does not match the table definition. Given us some default value, right? Actually, if you're mentioning some default value, if you add constant for default constant, then it has to take the default value, right? But it is not taking. Okay. So I have to start from. It is taking today date. Okay. Here I mentioned so that it is taking. Okay. Actually, we added some default constant, right? But
Anjan, just can you refresh and try Anjan?
already I refreshed. Not correct consider index. See previous error. Column already has a default bounded. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we no need to give the date here.
Could not create a constraint or index it is telling Anjan.
Let me check this one. Okay. I can check myself and I can let you know about this one. Just noting this error. Default example I can show you later. Okay. Okay. So I hope you understood, right, how we can inserting the data. Okay. I was trying to changing that default value in the middle, but even I changed the default value, but when I'm not providing any data, it has to take some default value, but it is not taking. It is not taking actually. So why it is not taking? And later I will check and I will let you know. Okay. See, the default constraint is to set the default value for the column. The default value is added to all new records if no other value is specified. Okay. There could be some issue regarding about that one. I can check and I can let you know. Okay. Yep. I hope you understood how exactly the insert is working. And for example, I want to update some records. Like actually I want to change that date. I want to change the date. Okay. So like this is the command. So when you're doing that update, then we should know about where class. Okay. So if you're not aware of the where class, then it is not possible to update the data, as well as it is when you're not using the where class, when you're deleting the data, entire table information can be deleted. Okay. So that's the reason you should know about what exactly the where it is using. When you start learning of where, then it has to be have some kind of operators also. Okay. So where, what exactly the where? So where it can help you to take some kind of conditions, and if the condition is satisfied, then it can work with that specific records only. Okay. So the where clause used for filter the records, and it is used to extract only those records only. Okay. So what the condition is satisfied, that specific records only, it will do some kind of operations and it will access, or we can do anything on those matched records only. Okay. So usually the syntax for the where clause is this one, like select, and not only for select, you can use the delete or update also, we can use the where. But usually, so after you mentioning the table name, then only we can have the where and followed by the condition. Okay. And this where clause is not only for select, it can help you for updating and deleting also. And let's see some example for deleting, um, updating. Let's see, select update with where clause. Okay. Like, so this is for syntax for update, and update table name and set. So, and set followed by the column name and date, and column name and a date. So we are going to be setting wherever this condition is satisfied. That means you have a data, you have the data. Okay. And I just want to be dated. I have here, there are six records are there. There are six records are there. Okay. I want to update it actually. Okay, what I want to update here, for example, Amir record. I want to update the Amir record. Actually, I know is data of joining, but unfortunately, I given here null data. Okay, the reason is that maybe by the time of writing the record, I'm not aware of it. After a few days, I got to know that his joining date. So I want to update his joining date. Okay, for that one, we can use the update, and update followed by the table name, update table, then set, and column name is dog, and date of joining is, for example, 2023, and it was May 23. Okay, this is the joining date of Amir. Okay, where I want to update to which candidate, like where first name is, where the first name, where the first name is Amir, right? Okay, wherever the first name is Amir is there, so that guy joining date is, say, 2023 May 23. Okay, let's execute this one. So this way your row is affected. Let me try to access the entire information from that particular table. So with help of the select statement, we can access it. Okay, let me execute this one. And so here previously the data of joining of Amir is, it was now, but now it was something like May 23 of 2023. Okay, clear. So that way you can able to go with updating that some existing records. Any questions?
No, no question.
No, Anjan.
Okay, like delete. I want to delete the Ravi record. Okay, I want to delete the Ravi record. How can I delete it? Delete. What is the syntax for delete?
Delete from table
Delete
where
from table name and followed by the condition. So
where
whatever the condition is satisfied, that all records, it can be deleted from that particular table. Okay, so you need to remember this syntax, and delete from. Okay, and table name is
Students,
students, and where
first name is Ravi.
For example, I want to delete the records of not only Ravi, I want to delete the records of who having that fees is 10,000. Okay. Or else, yep, I want to delete the records. Okay, fine. As you said, I want to delete only Ravi record. Okay. Like where fees, the fee is 10,000. Oh, sorry, Ravi. No. Where first name is, where the first name is Ravi. Okay. Let me run this record and you delete it. After deleted, you can try to be execute this one. So for previously we have a 6 records. Now we have only 5 records. Okay. Now I would like to go for using the select command. Okay. So with help of the where we can use the select also. Like I want to retrieve the data who having the fees is 10,000. Okay. Or who are from course name is who is enrolled for data science course. I need that data. Okay. Then select to start from. Okay, select to start from table. Okay, students, where in the course name is for example, course name is DS. Who are enrolled for data science course? I want to know that. Okay. Then if you run this one, it is returning only the course name who is enrolled for data science. Okay. So this way we can use the where class. Where will help you for to extract that, filter. You're just filtering the data. Okay. So the where we can use for in select and in delete as well as in update also. Okay. For updating, so where the condition is satisfied, there the corresponding records we can update with some specific value. Okay. And you deleting some specific records wherever the condition is satisfied. Okay. And we are retrieving the data where the condition is satisfied. Okay. Clear, right? Any questions so far?
No, Anjan.
Okay. So far you understood that. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, as of now, no issues.
Yeah.
We understood everything.
So by tomorrow, we'll see some other concepts like what we call unions, group by having. Let's see those things. Okay. After that one, joins is done. If the joins and group by having is done, then we can see some kind of functions and let's see some kind of operators so that we can do some kind of things actually. Okay. Like we can do some kind of hands-on executing or some kind of queries. Clear, right? Any questions? Yep, that's for today's session, guys. Hopefully, you can go and look this particular W3 schools of SQL. Then you will get to know some points. And if you're not even understood anything, you don't worry. We'll discuss some more points by tomorrow's session. Okay, so guys, bye. Take care.
Yeah.
See you.
Sure, Anjan.
Thank you. Anjan, one small thing, Anjan.
Yep.
That error you have saved it. Na? Can you show me that error?
Sorry.
That error. The insert command you have done right with the default values. Can you show me that command? Insertion which you have done.
Which one?
Yeah, which one? That ground means we faced that issue, right? Default issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Does not match the table definition at it. I think we have to pass null, I think. Comma, null, null.
If you're passing null, then what is the point of creating the?
Yeah, understood, yeah.
Yeah. Let me check. Actually, there could be.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me try the same thing.
Maybe
What
I'm
we
thinking
can.
maybe it is
No,
not
no.
refreshed, I'm thinking.
No, not refreshing actually. So let me try this way. Okay, so here you are not specifying the date of joining. Okay, student ID, first name, last name, course name, and
It may
fees.
work.
Okay, now we can
Yeah,
try
it
to
will work.
be inserting the 6th record, and his name is Ravi. And for example, A, and he's enrolled for data science, and the fees is for 20,000. Okay, now you're not mentioning the date of joining. Now it was affected, right? Let me check.
Yes,
Now
yes.
it was taking today date or not. it is taking to delete, then it's good. If it is taking null, then it's
It will take, but
yes, it was
why
taking.
it was not
No, no, no.
inserted before
So when
you
if you're not
you didn't
providing that,
mention the number of columns.
see, just a minute actually.
Yes,
If
that's
you're
what I'm
not
telling.
yeah, if you're not providing that column names, by default it is taking the all the columns. Okay.
Yes,
The
that's
issue
what I'm telling.
the
So it is
issue
expecting null in such
yes,
cases.
not null. Again, you're don't mistaken. Okay. So if you're not providing the column names, okay, if we are not providing that column names, okay, it's taking all column
You
names.
mean
See, here you mentioned only 5 columns, right?
yes.
Here you just mentioned only 5 columns, and here you mentioned that 5 data elements, so that you don't have any issue. But whenever you're not providing that column names and you're just providing only 5 records, 5 columns information, but by
Values,
default it is taking the columns are 6, and here you're giving only 5. Because of that one, we are getting an error. Okay.
Yes. It is expecting all the columns there, but we are
Yes.
providing only for 5 columns.
Yes, 5 columns information. Yep. So see here you have a 5 columns, right? And here 5 records only, right? Sorry. Here we have a 5 column
Yes.
names and a 5 column corresponding 5 columns data elements. And here you're not mentioning any column names, so that it is taking by default all column names. That means there are 6 columns names are there, but here you providing only 5 elements only. When you are providing the 5 elements, then it could be an error. Here there are 6 columns, but here we have only 5 data records. Because of that one, we are getting an error. Okay.
Yes. Either you should pass data or some null. Then
Yes.
it will work.
Either you should pass the data, or else either you should providing the column names.
Yeah, it's okay.
Got you right?
Yeah, it's okay.
You see, you'll be getting this error because there are 6 columns, but you mention only 5 columns information only. But here you are manually we are giving the 5 columns names, and you're giving that 5 columns corresponding data, so that we are not getting any kind of error. Okay. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Chiru, so that my confusion is clear here. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye. Take care, guys. See you. Take care.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.